Hello, and thanks for clicking into another edition of Sit Down with Ed Brown. Today promises to be a great show. We have researcher, actor, and producer, Mr. Mike Hall. He played Dale in the movie Something in the Woods, a movie in which he was also a producer. And he's been actively researching in Texas. Please welcome Mr. Mike Hall. Hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing great, Ed. How you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. I had an opportunity to watch the movie, and we're definitely going to get into that in a little bit. But you also do a lot of your own research and everything as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. I've probably been doing research as long as I've been acting, or actually longer. So when you were talking about the movie, it was kind of like getting to do that film was kind of like getting to have my cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. And I've listened to, you have a website, by the way, that has a lot of audio implanted
right.
in that website. And I had an opportunity, and I listened to practically every piece of audio on there. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed. And the one that really gets to me is the coughing audio. There's something making a coughing sound. Tell me, kind of set that up for me. Kind of tell me what was going on when that was taken. And we'll listen to that in just a second.
Yeah, well, there's kind of a background to that whole thing. The location that we were at was private property, and the gentleman that owns it, it was about 5,000 acres of bottomland along the Neches River in East Texas. And there had been some incidences in the past and everything, and so through a mutual friend, we got introduced to him, and he was like, "Sure, you can come down here and research and or do whatever you guys whatever you do." He was a skeptic. I mean, he wasn't saying he didn't think there was something there. He just wasn't willing to say that it was a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or anything. And anyway, he let us come onto this property. Now, what was interesting about it was that as a businessman, he had about 3,000 acres that were under 20-foot tall game fence. And he imported, had license to import these deers from Michigan and everything like that, these big white-tailed deers. And he was breeding them. And he was having these, what we call canned hunts. And basically this guy had, like celebrities and professional athletes and stuff that would come in and pay him like, $10,000 to come hunt for a weekend to get one of these trophy deer. Wow. And so to get to where we were on the back side of his property, and the reason it was not part of his hunting area was because anytime it rained, it would flood. And so you had to go through two big, giant electronic game fences, these big gates, these electric gates. And I always, every time we went through there, it always reminded me of Jurassic Park, those big gates opening and everything.
Sure.
And that's kind of what the property looks like, is this jungle. I mean, it's very thick bottomland, and there's nothing around. And so on this particular time that we went, it had rained really hard the week before. And so that area that was where we used to go, which would go all the way down to the river, was flooded really bad. And in fact, one of the guys got his truck stuck, and the owner had to come down with a tractor and pull him out. And so what we did was we actually camped just inside the second gate. And then he brought out, on a flatbed trailer, the owner brought out two 6-wheel amphibious ATVs. And he said, "You guys can use these to go down there, because they'll go right into the water, they'll float." He said, "You can go anywhere." So we used those, and we would go down through these cut trails that he had through the forest, through the woods, and down in the swamp, and there was some black water swamp that we hit several times, and you would just see the snakes go in every direction. And that particular recorder, we had about 10 recorders that we had put out in specific areas on the property. And this was the last recorder that we had, and we were going to put it in. It was the southern most point on the property, and it was the only appreciable piece of land that was not flooded. It was kind of a hill that the base of the hill was actually right at the edge of the river bank, and it went up, and he had a clear-cut section about 30 or 40 feet wide, all the way to the top where he had a deer stand for hunting. And so I stayed in the ATV, and Bruce Dinsford walked about halfway up the hill, and he found a very large tree. And Bruce is about 6'3", 6'4", and he was having to tiptoe and stretch as high as he could to reach the bottommost limb on the tree. And he coated it with peanut butter, the leaves and the limbs. And then at about the 6.5 foot mark on the trunk of the tree, he found a little stub sticking out of the trunk of the tree, and he hung the recorder there and turned it on. And then directly across from it, he put a game camera facing it. And then we went back to camp. There's one way in, one way out. So nobody, that was it. You had to come right past us. And so we went back to camp, and then later in the evening, we did some call blasting and some tree knocks and things, and we would just sit back and listen. And we knew that even after we went to bed, those recorders, that's our ears. So anything that happened after we were asleep, we knew we would catch them. So the next day we go get the recorders. A couple of weeks later, he calls me and says, "Man, you got to hear this." And he sent me a cut down version. It was 3-minute long version. He said the whole incident actually is about 30 minutes long, but it's too big to. He said this is the best part of it, and he sent that to me, and it's I can tell you this much. A year ago, I saw Matt Moneymaker doing an episode of Finding Bigfoot in South Texas and Southeast Texas, and we were talking about that recording, and he says that's one of my all-time favorite recordings. He doesn't know of anybody else that has ever captured anything quite like that.
Right.
And so, and basically you hear bipedal walking coming up the hill, and it stops at the tree that has the peanut butter on it, and you can hear it picking the leaves and sucking the peanut butter off and licking the peanut butter off, and then it gets choked. And it sounds to me like it, and this is just theory, I don't know what happened, but maybe a piece of leaf or something got hung in the back of its throat with the peanut butter, and it was coughing. And it starts coughing. And that's the premise. Now, the thing of it is that nobody knew why we were there exactly except the owner, and nobody knew where we put that recorder except me and myself and Bruce Dinsford. And then, I mean, it just stands to reason that, I mean, either you've got a hobo or a homeless person that's living out there that can find peanut butter in the middle of the night in the middle of a swamp and doesn't mind licking it off of a tree, and he has to be very tall. He has to be very tall in the first place.
Right.
Or we have the target species. And believe me, we went through every permutation of what it could be. Could it be a deer? Could it be a hog? Could it be a bear? Could it be? And just listening to it, you'll see what I'm saying. It's very bipedal steps, and very well. Just you have to listen to it to understand what I'm saying. But
well, let's go ahead and do that. Let's take
okay.
a listen to it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and play that video now for the listeners, or the audio. I'm sorry. I want you to listen to the audio, and then Mike and I will talk about it when we're done. Wow, Mike, that was very, very, very intriguing. I was I'm listening to the cough, and I got to tell you, Mike, the cough is kind of unique because I hear like a double cough to that. It's almost like it tries hard to break it free, and then the second smaller cough, if you will, like trying to expel it. You know, are you guys catching that same thing? I mean, that's pretty unique. It's interesting.
Yeah, and the thing of it is that it's like somebody. If you listen closely, it's the walking. If you go to our website and listen to the entire thing, as it's coming up this hill, somebody said, "Wow, that thing! It sounds like a guy that's been an asthmatic and heavy smoker for several years, as far as the breathing itself, and then you get this, and it starts getting the peanut butter and the leaves and everything. It starts to sound. I mean, that cough, almost. The guy said sounds like a smoker's cough almost.
Right.
And it's. But like I said before, the sheer location, the time of night that it was recorded, I can't think of anything else it could be. I mean, really. Now, I will preface that by saying this particular location, every single time we would go there, and it didn't matter what time of year it was, what the weather conditions were, what the cycle of the moon was, every time we would go there, we would have vocals, we would have tree knocks, and actually on the website we also have pictures of tracks that we actually, 5-toed, barefoot, very plain, very clear footprints in the mud in the riverbank, only about maybe 1,000 yards upriver from where this recording happened. And those were found at a completely different time of year than the recording. But every time we would go to this particular spot, we had activity. And people talk about these tree knock things, like tree knocks, and I said, what to me, it seems to me like location type situation. If it's a single knock, it's like, hey, I'm over here, where are you? And then you get another knock from somewhere else, and it's like, oh, I'm over here. And we encountered that a couple of times when we were sitting around a campfire. Everybody was in camp. We were all sitting around the fire, and to the north of our camp, along the river, we heard a very loud, very clear, distinct tree knock. It sounded like a Louisville slugger getting, whacked up against the trunk of a tree. Mm-hmm. And from probably 100, 150, 200 yards, maybe. And then before we could get up and do a response knock, we would get another knock about the same distance away from us to the south. Like they were saying, hey, I'm over here. Oh, I'm over here.
Yeah. Humans between us.
Yeah. Yeah. And the day that Bruce Dinsford and I found the tracks, he and I were the only people there. And it was in the middle of the daytime. And while we were actually getting ready to pour the hydrocal into some of these tracks to cast the tracks, right directly across the river from us was a series of very loud knocks, and it was 3 knocks in rapid succession. This whack, 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 and on the last one, whatever it was using, you could tell it broke.
Wow.
And we stopped and looked at each other. Yeah. And Bruce goes, well, I guess that last one was a little bit too hard. And we just kind of stood there. And we had audio that was on the website from that little trip where we found the tracks that happened in the middle of the daytime, because what we were attempting that particular day was to just go in and drop. We weren't going to camp out. We were just going to drop the recorders, leave the property completely, go stay at my place overnight, go back the next morning and pick them up. We were going to leave the recorders out with nobody there to see what was going on. And it's kind of scary because one of the last recorders we put out was inside of one of those Glad Tupperware boxes, and it had a right and left channel microphone on it on a really long cord with gator clips. And so we took the box and we stuffed it down into a bush, or into the fork there was a triple fork of a tree that was surrounded by bushes, and we shoved it down in there really, really hard. And then we took the left channel and we hung it on a branch to the left, and we took the right channel and hooked it onto a branch to the right, sticking out. And so we could tell from right to left which direction, if something came by there, what direction it was traveling from.
Smart.
Or going to.
Good idea.
And about 20 minutes after we had left the recorder and was walking back to our vehicle, you hear something walk right up to the recorder, pull the box out of the tree, and stand there and turn the box around and everything, because you can hear the recorder tumbling around inside of the box. And then it just throws the box down on the ground, and when it did, it unplugged, I think it was the right channel mic, because it was on a Y cord, and the right channel come unplugged, but the left one stayed plugged in, and then you hear it walk off. I mean, this was 20 minutes after we left. So this particular piece of property has had a lot of activity, and that's where this recording came from, and I think it's one of our best finds, or one of our best recordings as a group, Texas Research Group. Yeah.
In fact, speaking of Texas Research Group, I want to go ahead and tell the listeners, if it's okay with you, kind of where they can go to hear all these audio clips, because you have, I mean, I'm looking at it now, you have, I mean, my goodness, you have a ton of them on here, and be prepared to take some time, get some headphones so you hear it very well. But it's great stuff. But you can go to texlaresearch.com. That's TEXLA research.com, and just click on audio recordings, and you'll find all these recordings. Now, the one we played a moment ago was, if you scroll about halfway down the page, you'll find a series of cough sequence videos. That one was from part 2, and it's really, really cool stuff. I mean, I'm really intrigued by it, and hopefully our listeners will be too. I'm sure they will. So,
yeah.
So, have you had anyone else kind of analyze this audio and give some professional opinions? Have you had anyone?
The only professionals that I would say that I've actually played it for and had them listen to. I had 2 game wardens and a Texas Parks and Recreation's officer.
I would classify those as professionals. So.
Yeah. They listened to it, and they were like, they had no idea. And I was throwing out every possibility. Could that be a hog? They were like, no, that doesn't meet the criteria for what a hog would sound like. Do hogs talk? Well, they can, but that doesn't sound like what, could it be and could it be this? Could it be that? And they eliminated pretty much every known species of large animal in East Texas. And so, I mean, so there again, you've either got a hobo or a homeless person or somebody that's living in the swamp that's very tall and can find peanut butter strictly on scent and doesn't mind licking it off of a tree. Or you have the target species.
Right.
I mean, and that's just going through. Trust me, we went through every permutation that you can think of what it could be other than a Bigfoot, and we kept coming back to that. That's just the only thing. I mean, to us, it makes any sense.
I'm with you on that. I mean, but okay, a couple more questions on this, because there's some it's very interesting. You said that the area is fenced in. So would you think that this animal, whatever it is, do you think it's coming over the fence and coming into the area,
No.
or do you think it's something that's in the area already?
Well, now if you can, well, let me kind of let you know what's going on here.
Okay.
The actual property is about 5,000 acres. 2,000 acres of that approximately is from the river east. Okay, so if you've got the river running north and south, and we're on the eastern side of the river, and from the river going east, about 2,000 acres approximately is not under high game fence.
Okay. So you were outside the fence then?
We were outside right.
Gosh,
It's outside of the fenced area. That particular time when we were camping, because it was so muddy and flooded, we were camping just inside where our tents and everything were, where we were just inside the second gate that would lead down to the river. And so there's one way in, one way out, and there's no other way to get to this particular property from. And the funny thing of it is that I went back through other websites and other places and everything else looking for reports and stuff coming from that area. And it's really funny. I found several reports that went back into the 70s and 80s. I mean, within a stone's throw of this piece of property. So it seems like because it's so remote, it is a very bad floodplain area. Nobody builds anything there because it floods all the time. Anytime you get any kind of rain, it just floods. And so nothing's being built there, so they're not being pushed out. They're not being forced to leave. It's got plenty of water, plenty of cover. Trust me on the hogs and the deer. And one of the reasons we were actually, this guy agreed to let us come there was because on next to, or the westernmost boundary of his fence going down to the river kept getting pulled apart, pulled away from the post. And we're talking seriously strong fence. And so he kept having his crew go down there and have to fix the fence all the time. It seemed like it was just being pulled apart. And they were Hispanic, didn't speak much English. And they were down there fixing the fence one day, and they heard a noise behind them. And they looked about 50 yards away in the tree line. They saw, because that on that boundary of fence, it's just kind of like an open field. And about 50 yards away is the tree line, and they saw this thing standing next to a tree, had its hand up on a tree. And they completely freaked out, left all their tools, everything else, jumped in a truck, went back and quit their jobs. They weren't going back down there. And I don't know what the Spanish translation is or how it's said in Spanish, but basically what they were saying was giant red monkey or giant red ape is what they were calling it. And so that's kind of how we actually got down there, because he they obviously saw something, and he had never seen anything or heard anything, and but he was curious to find out if we found anything. So
sure.
And when we showed him what we found, and shortly thereafter he politely asked us to not say anything about where exactly this was, or anything else. And then he eventually told us that he didn't want us to come back down there and do any further research. And I think that was because he was afraid that he might lose business for his hunters and stuff. Right. If people thought there was something like this down there, I don't know. But
I guess I can respect that. I can understand where he's coming from. And that was actually going to be my next question: was that did you share the information and what was his reaction? So that's a pretty interesting reaction, and it makes sense. Did you?
Right.
I have to ask this question, and because if I don't, people are gonna like, dude, you should have asked this question. But when you received this audio, did you have any video? Did you set up any cameras or anything of that nature in the area? And if not, why not? You know?
Yeah, we actually did put out cameras, and there was a camera on this recorder where the cough sequence happened that night. The interesting thing is it didn't fire. There are pictures of Bruce hanging it on the tree when we set it up, and then there are pictures of him the next morning picking the camera up to take it down. There are no pictures in between. Now, why that is, I don't know. And it's the camera's fine, the batteries were fine, obviously. Everything was in perfect working order, and he was like told everybody, he said this thing was pointed right at it. He said that whatever it was that walked into that area and did what it did, that camera never fired. And so I don't know. We had an incident one time where we took a rake and we put those little cocktail weenies, little smokies, on each end of the prong of the rake, stuck it in the ground, and then we put a camera on the tree just right behind it. And we had this incident happen in South Louisiana. And you can see a picture of the rake with the little cocktail weenies on each prong. And then there's a couple of other pictures that happen at night, but nothing that's anomalous. And then the next picture that you see the next morning, all the cocktail weenies are gone. And the rake is still sitting there, but it never fired any pictures of what took them. Not even if it was a raccoon or a squirrel or a bird or anything else. It didn't take a picture of anything. So I don't know.
That would be very reminiscent to the Les Stroud experience with the apple he put in the tree, I believe, and
right. Yeah.
It's just boom. It's just gone.
It's just gone. It's just not there. Yeah. And there's another recording that's on the on our website, that the same location with the cocktail weenies. We recorded an audio of a scream, and this is I don't know how many millions of acres of swampland this is, and it just has a levee running through the middle of it. That we recorded a scream coming out of the swamp that we couldn't identify, and so we sent the recording to Dr. Fox at Texas A&M. And he's been on several shows that talk about audio recordings of Sasquatch. And his programs and things that he has, he can identify pretty much any animal in the world simply by their vocal patterns. And so when he got our recording and ran it through his computer and did all the algorithms and the wave files and everything else, his answer to us was it was an unknown, but that it did fall into the range of a female soprano opera singer. So unless we had a female soprano opera singer out in the middle of South Louisiana swamp screaming at us, I don't know what I don't know what it was. So that audio is also on the website too. So I mean, it's we've run into some strange things, and I've had two actual eyes-on visuals in two different locations. One was in January of 2005 in Sam Houston National Forest, and I actually had a newspaper reporter in the car with me. She saw it first, actually, and that was a pretty interesting night of events. And then in 2011, along the Trinity River in East Texas, as I was driving home, it was probably 11 o'clock at night, and I was maybe 100 yards from the bridge that crosses the Trinity River. And there was a massive electrical storm, a very powerful storm coming from the west, and I was trying to beat it home. And as I got close to the bridge, all of a sudden, what I thought was a tree or a large bush on the side of the road and I kept thinking, well, the trees are cut way back from the side of the road there. I don't remember there being, all of a sudden this thing, it stood straight up and just walked across the highway in front of me. Typical road crossing. You know, he crossed 2 shoulders and 2 lanes in about 4 steps and was down on the other side. Now, what's interesting is that on the south side of the road is a wildlife management area, and it continues on the north side of the road, and it's about 15,000 acres total of wildlife management area in another area that is typically, if it rains, it floods and gets really bad and swampy. And we've got audio recording from there as well, screams, multiple vocalizations that we recorded in that area as well.
That would be great. I tell you what, I would love to get down there sometime and hang out with you guys and try to get some experiences of my own to match those. That's just phenomenal. I mean, that's a great find, and I love the audio. Like I said, I've listened to a lot of these audio clips you have on your website here, and I got to tell you, I mean, I'm pretty impressed, and I hope my listeners go there and listen to as many as they can, because it's really cool. It's really cool stuff.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I know the guys appreciate it too. We spent a lot of years doing this, and for a long time we prided ourselves on finding locations and picking out hot spots and getting into inaccessible areas and keeping everything on the down low as far as what we were there for, as far as not telling anybody where exactly we were going, what we were doing. Just a way of protecting the research, so that you don't have the possibility of someone coming out and trying to mess with you, and mess you up. So, and strictly for those reasons. And if it's private property, of course, we want to protect the property owner and don't want to, state exactly where it's at or who it is. Absolutely. Or anything like that. So, but we've worked really hard to stay, as far as research is concerned, to keep it as pure as possible. And we don't take anything for granted when we hear something. You have to put you have to put your skepticals on, and trust me, we're as skeptical about things that we hear in the woods at night, and things that we find, structures or limb twists or something. We try to explain away everything. We just don't take it on face value that it was a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or whatever. We will sit and study something for hours and try to figure out, could it be anything else? Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be, just anything? But the stuff that we have on the website are things that we have come to say, you know what, we don't know. And we also are very happy, or if you look at our website and read the things that are written there, we never once say this is a Bigfoot. A Bigfoot did this. A Sasquatch did this. We say it's very interesting. It happened to be in an area where there have been some sightings or some reports, and this is what we had happen when we went there, and this is what we found. But we don't lay out any claims of absolute positivity that this is absolutely a Bigfoot did this and nothing else it couldn't possibly be anything else. We don't ever say that.
Right.
And we're very proud of that fact. We stick to our guns when we are pretty sure about something, but we never throw it out there as an absolute.
Absolutely. I think that's wise. I think that's very wise, and I think that's what good researchers should do. Leave it up to the viewer, the listeners. Let them decide on their own, and I think that's that's very well said. And
I think it's also on the website. We stayed on there on some of the unknown recordings. I think Bruce put it on the website on purpose. If there's anyone out there that hears one of our recordings and can identify what that is and show us, send us back another audio, whatever, and prove to us that it's it, then great. We've just identified something. We can take it off the unknown list and we can put it on the known.
Absolutely.
and we're very open to have people say, oh, hey, that's a whatever kind of bird, or that's whatever. We want to make sure that we stay above board, and if we don't know what it is, we'll say we don't know what it is. If we know that that's a barred owl, or if it's a coyote, or if it's a whatever, you'll find it on our website listed as such. So.
Very good. Very good. Now, I'm going to kind of switch gears here a little bit. And,
sure.
I mean, your research is phenomenal. I love what you're doing. I love how you set it up, and I love all your explanations. But I'm going to switch gears here a little bit. You've taken this passion you have for the genre, the Bigfoot genre, and
right.
You've turned it into a whole other venture as well. And you are also an actor and a producer. I mean, you helped with the movie Something in the Woods, right?
Yes. Yeah. David Ford, who wrote the script, he and I actually met while doing another movie. It was a Western. We were doing a Western called Devil's Deal that was released year before last by Lionsgate. Released it, and but we met while we were on the set of Devil's Deal, and between shots and between takes and stuff, we were sitting around talking and everything, and I just happened to mention that I was a researcher and that I enjoyed doing that, and we just started talking about it, and we got to be really good friends, and we stayed in touch and everything, and a couple of years ago, I get a phone call. I was at home, and I get a phone call from David, and he goes, "Hey, I got this idea to write a Bigfoot movie. Would you be interested in helping?" And I was like, "Absolutely." Well,
are you kidding?
Yeah, are you kidding? I'm getting to put together both of my passions here, and so over the course of several months, we would have these long phone conversations and talk about the script and talk about the story, and basically the movie is inspired by a story that a lot of researchers know called the Cowman of Copolis Beach. We don't want to say it's based on that because it's not really based on it. It's inspired by it. And so because of course we couldn't go to that exact location to film, so we couldn't set it. We had to set it in Texas, and so David and I, and especially when it came to the actual creature in the film, and some of the things that the family experiences in the family in the movie deal with, he was very adamant about me and putting in my 2 cents and what I thought this creature would do, and what I would thought things that they would find or things that they would describe or experience. And so when it came to that, he would point, when somebody on set would say, "Hey, do you think the creature would actually do this or that?" And he would point to me and go, "Ask him." And so that was really cool because we were, for the first time, and like David said, the first time since the classic movie Legend of Bayou Creek, we were actually putting out something that spoke directly to what people have actually experienced. This wasn't a Hollywood blood and guts monster movie.
Right.
This was a real kind of feel, and so then when it came to the actual creature itself, how did we want to go with a costume that was already kind of out there or what? And we happened to get introduced to a guy named Travis Driver. He actually plays Otis in the movie, and but he's a special effects guy and physical special effects guy and costumer, and he does it just for fun. He's not a professional, When David told me that, he goes, no, he just does it for fun. He owns a coffee shop. And my first thought was, oh my God, we're dead. We're dead. Because I kept telling him, I said, we can't sell this story unless the creature is believable.
Right.
You can't just go out to some costume shop and rent a gorilla costume and have it look, like it should. And he agreed. And so, and it was, I was so terrified, that this guy was not a professional, makeup effects artist, and, that he just did it for fun. I was actually going to take a train. I was riding the train from Dallas, Texas to Jefferson, Texas, where we filmed. And I was sitting in the train station, and David texted me a video that Travis had done in his studio where he built the suit. And when I saw it for the first time, I thought, in that video, I thought, man, we have got something very special. Yeah. This guy, he knocked it. It was not. This was a Mickey Mantle, Babe Ruth, gargantuan home run, as far as I was concerned. And we've had people say, "Oh, I've seen that costume before." No, you haven't. It's a one of a kind, and there's only one of them in the world, and that guy did it. And he still owns it. He still has it. So getting to do the story and going through the script and everything, we kept it pretty much. We wanted people, especially researchers or people who had experiences, to see the film and say, "Oh my God, I've had that happen," or "I've seen that," or "I have," and it's just a way of drawing them in to the story, and having it sell for them, sure. for the individual person. And I'm pretty excited. It seems to be doing very well. People seem to like it. It's a family friendly type thing. It's a little creepy. It can be a little scary, but there's no blood and guts. There's no bad language. There's no smut. Right. There's the family that's the story is about is it's not an in-your-face type Christian thing, but they say they go to church and they pray over their meals and they're respectful, and but you see a man torn between what to do. Right. He feels like his family is being threatened, and he doesn't know but he doesn't really fully grasp what he's dealing with. And that's what this is about. It's his turmoil that he goes through. And I think it's a good storyline. It's not perfect. The film has got mistakes in it and everything else, but with the fact that the day we started filming, we had about $1,700 cash in our pockets.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And but to turn out the product that we have, we're extremely proud of the film and how it turned out and everything about it. So
I'll tell you what, I've had the opportunity to watch the movie. In fact, I've watched it 3 times now, and I've loved it every time. And I've said publicly already that, number one, it's a great movie. It's a must-see. If you haven't seen it yet, you got to get this movie. It is a really, really good movie. It is a B movie, but it has, and the only way I can describe it is the production, the editing, the final product is not a B movie. I mean, you guys have done an awesome job with the production of this movie, turning it into a movie, doing all the editing and the scenes and the cinematography and everything is class A, really, really well done. And I got to tell you, I was impressed. And then when I found out your budget, I was even more impressed. And
right,
definitely a must-see movie.
Well, we had, and I put this out there. We had really good cameras. We had amazing locations. And we had some really good people behind the cameras that that had an eye for how things should look and things that we should do. And David and myself and Stuart Miller and Peyton Pierce and Tony Gibson and we would talk and go, you know, this we need to do it this way so that it looks like this. And we kept saying, you know, that's how we would go from scene to scene. We would, you know, we need to do it this way so we have this certain look. And we had a lot of B-roll footage that we used, and the crane shots and the aerial shots and everything in the film you see, we shot it except for and I was wrong when I told you this the other night. We have two little clips that we actually had to purchase, and we could have really done without one of them, but we threw it in there anyway. But the cartoon that the kids are watching on the TV screen we had to purchase that, a 30-second clip, and then the deer that you see walking through the trees, that was another clip that we purchased. But other than that, every scene, everything, the aerial shots, the shots going through the cranes, everything, we shot it ourselves. And we had some cool vehicles, cars and trucks and things in the movie. Those were donated. Pretty much everything we had was donated. The house, the land, the woods, everything that we showed, the cafe scene in town, the churches, all the vehicles and all those things. People just came out and helped, and it really put us into making this what would be a small film look like a very large film.
Right.
When David Ford took it to Los Angeles last November, and some people at AFI watched it, they basically didn't believe it when he told them that what we had as far as cash money budget for the film when we started, the day we started filming. They couldn't believe it. They thought that we had actually shot it. They probably they were saying anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million budget. And we were like, we did $1,700 is all we had cash money.
That's incredible.
And then if you see the credits, you'll see a lot of different restaurants were credited, and special thanks to these restaurants. And what that was I told David, I said, the great General Patton used to say that an army marches on its stomach. And he looked at me and goes, what does that mean? I said, well, it means that you can pretty much get people to do anything if you feed them.
Yes.
And feed them well. And so what we did was we went to all these different restaurants in the area and got them to agree if we gave them credit in the film that they would donate meals for 50 people, 50 people for cast and crew for 3 days during filming. And we would have a craft service girl would go to town, and she would pick up in her vehicle, and she would pick up all these meals as food. And there was a church just down the road from where we were filming, out in the middle of the country, and they allowed us to use their meeting hall to set up and have our meals. And so we would go in, and we had steaks, and we had barbecue, and we had all kinds of food, that we so everybody ate really well. And
sure.
So we on set we had what we call craft services, where we had all kinds of fruits and candies and donuts and all kinds of soft drinks and water and Powerade and things. So you got to remember, we were filming this in the middle of June, and we're not far from Caddo Lake, which is also, this whole area where we were filming is also known for having Bigfoot sightings, and they have had for years and years and years. And it's just a stone's throw, just a couple of hours southwest of Falk, Arkansas, on the Legend of Bayou Creek and all that. So we were actually filming in an area that that's known for Bigfoot.
Right.
And in fact, they have a Bigfoot conference there every October. So it's really been a lot of fun, and it was exciting to film it and be a part of it.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. And the other thing is, it's really neat. I'll tell you, this is a quick little story. One night,
sure.
we were filming. A lot of times we were filming overnight, and you get pretty tired after you've been filming for 15 hours, and we were filming at night, and it was in the middle of the night. It was probably about 2:00 in the morning or something like that, and we were standing in the back of this house, and it's dark back there except for our lights that we were using to shoot the scene with. And between shots, we were standing there, and I had walked over, and about 100 yards, 150 yards away is the beginning of the tree line for this forest. And I'm standing there, and it's, like I said, 2:00 in the morning or so, and I heard a tree knock. A really clear, very pronounced tree knock back in the trees. And so David Ford, who was in the scene and everything, he comes over and we're standing there talking, and he said, "So what's going on? You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was just sitting here listening to these tree knocks going on over here." And he's like, "What?" I said, "Yeah." And so we stood there for a minute, and then another one happened. He goes, "Oh my God!" Well, there you go. We're making a Bigfoot, and Bigfoot's over there watching, and he's giving us his approval, I guess. I don't.
Yeah.
He's
already seen the movie too.
Yeah. And so it was really cool. And then we've got some behind the scenes footage that later on we're going to release.
Cool.
That's got interviews and things like that with cast and crew. And we actually the first ever screening of the film to the public was last year in Ohio at the Ohio Bigfoot Conference. And I want to thank Mark DeWerth and everybody up there. It was such a fabulous reception that we received. We were close to 500 people watching the movie that night, and what we had was not completed. It was a rough cut, and they just went crazy for it. They just went nuts, and from that, it's just kind of snowballed and gotten bigger and better, and so we're looking forward to showing this publicly in some other places as well.
Good. Now, where are some of these places that you're going to be doing some screening? I mean, can you tell the listeners where they might be able to go watch it?
Well, yeah. If you're anywhere near Lexington, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, on Friday, March the 4th, it's going to be screening. It's going to be screening there at a theater. And I have to look real quick to find out exactly where, if I can. But I'll send you the link and you can post it up. But I know that March the 4th in Louisville, Kentucky, it's going to be screening at a theater there. And then in April 23rd, we're going to be in Vidalia, Arkansas, at the Arkansas Bigfoot Conference. We're going to screen there. I know that we have, I'm going to be back now we're not going to screen it at the Ohio Conference, but we will be at the Ohio Conference in May. We're going to be selling copies of the DVD and Blu-ray and T-shirts and posters and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to be selling those there. I'm thinking about doing a little private thing at the Ohio Conference and see if we can, let some people watch it there, separate from everything else, of course.
Sure.
They have their stuff already planned out. But and then I think later this year we're going to be showing it at the International Bigfoot Conference in Washington State. and if you go to our website, which is www.sitwmovie.com, you can scroll down and you can find there's a thing on there where you can find out how you can host a screening yourself. So
great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And I happen to know a little bit about the International Bigfoot Conference, since I'm one of the co-founders for it, and we are definitely honored to have it screened at our conference, and we're definitely looking forward to that. I think we're going to actually be screening it on Saturday night, which I believe will be the 3rd of September in Kennewick, Washington,
yes.
Three Rivers Conference Center. So that's going to be a lot of fun. It's either going to play on Friday or Saturday. We haven't quite put it on the schedule yet, but we know it's going on. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think David Ford and myself, and I'm not sure if Stuart Miller or any of the other guys, we're bending over backwards to try to make that trip and be there, and have copies of the movie for sale and things like that. So we're looking forward to that, and like I said, we've got it's starting to pick up speed now. We did have some problems with shipping when it first came out, and internationally we're getting a lot of requests or purchases from the UK, Australia, New Zealand, a couple of other countries in Europe, and Canada, and so it's really kind of starting to grow, and we want of course we want it to grow and grow and grow and grow grow and grow.
Of course.
We're not, as far as my acting career, I do other things. This is not just, I do the Bigfoot thing because it's just a passion that I have.
Sure.
And it just happened to be that this was a Bigfoot movie. But I've done westerns, and I've done other stuff, and I've played cops, and I've played bad guys and bikers and everything else, and I'll continue to do other types of films and things like that.
Sure.
But this one, it was a lot of fun. So
Sure. Now, I got to say, I watched the movie, and you played a character named Dale in the movie, and I'm not going to give away the movie. I'm not giving away anything, but Mike, you did a great job as Dale. You can tell that you're a seasoned actor. You can tell that you've done it before. This wasn't anything new to you, and I can definitely see you as a biker as well. So I can see that play. Definitely did a great job, and I got to ask.
I appreciate it.
I watched the movie. Like I said, I've watched it 3 times now, and I think I saw a cameo in the movie. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I very well could be. But and again, I'm not giving away the movie. But in the scene where you guys are in the restaurant, or I don't think you're actually in this scene, as a matter of fact, but in the scene where they're in the restaurant, the table sitting next to the the main stars, was that Brian Impey in that movie?
Yes, it is.
I knew it. He's a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a long time, but I was like, I know him. I know that guy.
That's Brian, and actually his son. We were talking about doing the movie, and I was doing another broadcast, a radio type show, and I can't remember who it was with, and Brian was listening in, and he had called in and said something about, hey, I don't live too far from there. I sure would love to be in the movie. And I told him, friended him on Facebook, and I messaged him. I said, hey, give me your contact information, and I'll see what I can do. And when it came up that we needed extras for the church scene and
sure.
and for the cafe scene and everything, I called him and said, hey, if you can be down here on this day, we're going to shoot both of those scenes in one day, and you're more than welcome. He said, can I bring my son? And I was like, sure, bring him, come on. And what's funny is we shot at the church in the morning, and then we were leaving that location and going to downtown to shoot at the cafe. And Brian there was another scene that they were going to shoot that they had to go out to this remote location just outside of town to this little cabin that was right on the river. And Brian thought that's where we were all going. And so he wound up following them out to this location, and he was like, well, I hope the cafe's not out here. And so basically he got to watch them film another scene, and then they all came into town and set up at the cafe to shoot that scene with him and his son was there. Yeah, he was in the church scene as well, too. So if you watch the church scene again, you'll see him and his son in the church scene as well. But, that's Brian.
I'll have to pause it and look for him in the church scene. I didn't notice him in the church scene, but in the cafe scene, I was like, it's like, I know that guy. And Brian's a great guy, and I've talked to Brian quite a bit. He and I, have corresponded a lot. Haven't talked to him in a while, but I'll have to send him a copy of this so that he can let.
Oh yeah.
He'll know that we talked about it a little bit.
Give him a shout out. Give him a shout out.
Brian, good job.
Yeah, Brian. He's a great guy. He's fantastic. Another quick story is we had already finished filming the film, and we were in the middle of post production, and somebody said, "Hey, we want to do an expedition down in Falk, Arkansas, and would you like to come?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'd love to go." So I drove up with another researcher and myself, and we drove up there, and it was really cool because we got to this place. It's right on the Sulphur River. It's not far from Falk, Arkansas. There's a lot of activity in this area, and we were there for whatever. And David Ford called, and I said, "Hey, we're over here in Falk. You want to come over?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'll come over." So he drove over from his house, and we went out every night, and nothing. We didn't have anything happening. We couldn't find anything, didn't hear anything, and I had this big, massive tent, and I had a cot, just me in there by myself. And David, you see how big he is in the movie. He's a big guy, and he had a little pup tent, and he was fighting and struggling with that stupid pup tent, and I was already laying down, and I heard him go, "Mike, can I come over and crash in your tent?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So he comes over, and there was an extra cot. So he was on the other side of the tent, and I was on this side of the tent, and I had earplugs. I put earplugs in. And all of a sudden, I dozed off, and all of a sudden, I nearly had a heart attack. He reached over and grabbed me by the arm. And I jumped about 4 feet in the air. And I said, what, he goes, listen. And just on the other side of camp, there was a tree knot, a really loud one. And I said, where was that? And he goes, that's right on the other side of the vehicles. I mean, across camp, just right across camp. And he goes, is that a tree? Was that a tree knot? I was like, it sure sounds like one. So I got up and I opened the tent and I got out and I had a flashlight and I was looking around. I couldn't see anything. Everybody else was in their tents asleep. There was nobody out. And so I'm just looking and I don't see anything. So I go back and I lay back down in the tent. And no sooner than I got laid down, there was another knot on the other side on the opposite side. So he got to experience it, again, So he's really into it now, and he's always asking me when we're going out in the field. He wants to go, and that's really fun because he's had some where he actually lives. He lives pretty much in a remote area himself, and behind his house is nothing but forests and woods and everything else. And so now I have him putting out recorders behind his house.
That's a good idea.
He goes, where can I get some of those recorders you guys use? And so so now he's actually full blown, but he just does it right there at his house, and because he's had some stuff happen right there close to his house. it's really fun to see somebody get, have some kind of experience and then kind of just dive in like he has. But
sure.
But it all stems from a movie, that we did together, and I have to give credit where credit is due. Tony Gibson did a great job helping direct the film, and everybody. I mean, the camera, Peyton Pierce and David Akins and Calder White and all these guys that worked on the film, all the cast, amazing. Angela Harder, everybody. Travis Driver, the kids in the movie were awesome.
Yeah. Yes, they did. I'm glad you said that because I wanted to bring that up. The kids in the movie, I mean, you could feel their tension. You know what I mean? You could feel it, and they did an awesome job. I mean, everybody did. It was a really, really good movie. And
the kid that plays the youngest one, his name is Caden Grisham, and that was his first time ever acting in anything ever.
No way.
Yeah. He'd never acted, not even in a play. He'd never been in a play at school or anything. He'd never done anything, and he played the younger one, and played it very well. Did a great job. And it just Dashel Smith played his brother. Did a fantastic job as well.
Sure.
But everybody, I think it was a collective effort. Everybody did an amazing job, and we all jumped in as team players. I've been on other sets and other locations, and I've never seen the kind of camaraderie that we had, because we kind of felt like we were in this together.
Right.
So.
Right. It was very well done, and I had to add, and I'm sure you'll get this, and anyone who's seen the movie will get this, but little Mr. Grisham, they must have offered him a piece of apple pie if he did a good job.
Yeah.
Watch the movie, and you'll get that pun. So
yeah.
Well, Mike, listen, I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell everybody, where can you find this movie? Where can you order this movie? Just let people know where they can get more information.
You can go to our website, which is, again, it's www.sitwmovie.com, and it has a thing on there where you scroll down and you can hit that, and it'll take you right to the page where you can order your copy of the DVD. You can find information on our Facebook page. Find us on Facebook. We have a Twitter page. We have a Instagram page. Just look for Something in the Woods movie. You can see the trailer, the official trailer on our website, or you can just, if you want to see the official trailer, don't want to go to the website or whatever, I think the official trailer is actually on YouTube. You can just put in Something in the Woods official movie trailer, and it'll pop right up. And but to find the movie, you can go to our website or our Facebook page, and let
you
it.
You can also go to the International Bigfoot Conference page, and I've posted the movie there as well. So there's a link there to watch the trailer, as well as a link there to order the movie. Definitely a must-see, and I definitely urge as many people who are interested to see it. I can tell you that the movie, and I guess, and I'm not going to give away the movie, but I'll tell you this: it's a must-see. It's very realistic. It's what you would expect to see happen. Again, it's not gory, like Mike said. It's not gory or bloody or anything like that. So it's not a horror movie in that respect, but it will keep you on the edge of your seat. And the action starts pretty quick too. I mean, you guys didn't waste any time getting into it either, so that's pretty cool too. I like that. So.
Oh yeah, we didn't drag it out, and we used some old Hollywood tricks to heighten that edge of your seat feeling.
Sure.
We used some tricks that basically like Spielberg did with Jaws, where you couldn't see the shark. But you knew the shark was there. Yeah.
Absolutely. So very well done. Man, Mike, listen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. we've had a great time. I've had an awesome time talking to you. This has been a great experience for me. I look forward to meeting you a couple times. If you're in Ohio, I will probably be at the Ohio conference. I will definitely be at the International Bigfoot Conference in Washington.
Great.
Definitely look forward to meeting you, shaking your hand, and telling you myself how good a job that you guys did. It was great.
Well, I appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you too and shaking your hand and sitting down and talking with you.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate the opportunity to come on your show and talk about the film, but also be able to talk about research and just really enjoy it.
Sure. Now, I'm going to end with this question. Are you a researcher first or an actor first?
Oh, man.
Tough question.
That is a tough question. Actually, I have to say I'm an actor first because it pays bills.
Sure. Gotcha.
But research is still a passion, and I enjoy it. Even if I go out and nothing happens, I get to spend a great time in the wilderness, out in nature, enjoying nature, and hanging out with friends of mine that are like-minded. And so it turns into a great. If nothing happens, it turns into a great camping trip. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, make sure you check out the movie Something in the Woods. Also, go to Texla.com and check out, TexlaSearch.com, and make sure you check out the audio that Mike's provided here. You're going to be impressed. Definitely check it out. And Mike, thanks for coming on the show. And with that, guys, we're out.